Today we are discussing it's never too late to be rich. Most people give up too soon. Maybe you look at your age and you say, I'm now 40, I'm 45 years, I'm 50 years. Wealth is not for me. It's never too late. Some of the people that we celebrate in our world today actually didn't start very early. Some who start early took a long while before they actually started making real money. Take, for example, Warren Buffett, one of the popular investors that people in the world today. Today he's 93 years old, and it is said that he's worth about 130 billion US dollars. And 99% of his wealth, of this 130 billion, he made it after his 50th birthday. That's somebody you know. So even if you are 50 years old today and you plan to live, I believe everybody is planning to live long. So your prayer is to live long. And you are 50 years old and you won't stop trying because you are 50 years old and yet you are planning to live long. Imagine if God were to give you another 40 years. Are you going to use those 40 years to explain why you did not start? So it's not too late to start. We're going to do some calculation just to help you appreciate how this thing works. Think about another popular person, Michael Bloomberg. He's 82 years today. He was fired from his work when he was 39 years old and started the Bloomberg company at the age of 40. 15 years later, by the age 55, he has become a billionaire in dollars, US dollars. See, he has thought all his life that he was supposed to be an employee until he was fired. And then he went into business at 40 years. And in 15 years, by age 55, he was already a billionaire US dollars. Today, he's 82 years old, worth 106 billion US dollars. I don't know how old you think you are, you cannot start. You know the popular story of the KFC owner, Colonel Sandars, who actually started his first KFC store at 65. And he failed. He started his first KFC store at 65 and failed. And then went and took his social security money and started franchising KFC. Look at KFC today all over the world. He started a business at 65. Maybe you are 65 and you have retired. You can still be a very wealthy person. And statistics and research have shown over and over again that people are more likely to succeed twice as much in their 40s, late 40s, 50s than they are when they are younger. Because you see, when at 40 years, 45 years, you are now become calm. You have become more disciplined with things. You don't just make decisions. You make a serious decision based on thoughts and different considerations. You see, so your chances of winning after you are 40, 45, 50 years is very high. You are not like a young person who is moved by so many things. You get your small money here, you want to go and buy a flashy car. You're a bit calm. But that is when many people quit and say, well, I'm already too old to start. You can start. When it comes to wealth, especially wealth building, I know it's a game of time because it takes time to build wealth. Of course, there are some people who have wealth generating idea, maybe one serious idea like this, and they can become very rich within a short time, which is also a given. But not many people will have such ideas. Not many people will start Microsoft or start Facebook or YouTube or Google. There are not many people who start such companies, but there are many millionaires and many billionaires in the world. That is to tell you that even if you don't have any of such earth-breaking ideas, if you can leverage on time, you can become very wealthy. See? So in wealth building, there are a few factors to look at. Number one, build wealth. The first thing that you must do is to set financial goal, bearing in mind your current age. Set financial goal. Don't say, well, I'm now too old, I cannot set a goal. You see, when at any point where you can no longer have a goal, you have to actually start dying. Because one of the major thrill of life is that there's something that you are reaching out for. So the first thing you do if you intend to build wealth is to set financial goal. See, maybe your goal is, I want to make $10 million at 40, so by the age of 60. Is it possible? Of course, the goal you're going to be setting depends on maybe your current, I won't call it reality, but your current level where you are. How much is available to you? How much comes to you today? But set financial goal. That's where we all start from. Financial goal. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? See, if you're 40, 10 years will be 50. If you're 40, 20 years will be 60. If you're 40 or 50, 10 years will be 60. If you're 50, 20 years will be 70 years. I know you hope to be long. I know you are praying for long life. I know. But what kind of long life is it going to be? So begin by setting financial goal. And the next thing that you're going to do, if you are really serious about the goal you set, is that now the next thing you must seriously do is to start saving some of the income, money that comes to your hand. Because all the wealthy people begins from there. If you have been spending everything, you can no longer spend everything. So you start saving some of those money that comes to your hand. The reason is because you want to build wealth. And to build anything, you need to sponsor it. It requires resources to build. Whether it's a house you want to build, a life you want to build, a child you want to build, anything you want to build, you require some finances. It might not be a lot, but you need to have some finances, right? So for your journey of wealth to begin, you must start now saving. That's why I said at 40, at 50, you are supposed to become a disciplined person, right? Discipline yourself to start saving something now. And then the next thing you're going to do, because the purpose of saving is not just to save. You can never save money into wealth, except you are saving, maybe you're saving $10,000, for example. Otherwise, you cannot save into wealth. The purpose of saving is to give you something to start with. And the next thing you're going to do is, because at 40, 50, you probably may have made some bad decisions that may have landed you in debts, right? So the next thing you must do now is debt management. What do I mean by debt management? Take, for example, maybe you've taken a loan. You've bought a house on mortgage. You took a loan and you bought a house. Assuming you live in South Africa or Namibia, for instance. And this loan you took, maybe you bought your house is worth 1.2 million rands, for example. And you are paying a monthly installment of about 15,000 rands per month. And you are the one living in the house, maybe with your family. And this money you are paying is coming from your salary. And maybe you still have like 15 more years to go, or 20 more years, depending, I don't know, depending on the length of the loan. That debt you are having now, the next thing that you must do if you want to build wealth is to manage the debt. What do I mean by manage the debt? You are either going to, if I'm advising you, you say, no, I'm 40 years old. If by 40 years you still have 15 years to go. If I advise, I'll say, because if you have 15 years to go, and probably the balance on that house will be like 1.1 million rand. You are still owing on the house. You've paid $100,000 and you're still owing 1.1 million rands. And you are paying 15,000 rands, for example, per month. If I were in this situation, what I would do is I will sell this house and I'll go back to renting. So what do you mean? Because if you are having $15,000 to be paying this mortgage, what I will do, I'll go back to renting and I'll look for a house that will fall maybe around $7,000, which should actually be a comfortable house to rent, right? I'll rent a house for $7,000, and this $8,000 I'm going to save from here, I will invest this money in the unit trust. So I'm still living as though, because whether you're paying mortgage or you're living in a rented house, you're actually renting a house. Just that, there's a lie that, of course, your house is an investment. Which means, well, if you have time, if you are 20 years old or 25 years old and you bought a house that you will pay by the time you are 40 years old, maybe it's an investment. But at this age of 40, 45 years, you are actually battling with time. See, you are no longer playing with money, you are playing with time. So I will sell the house, save the 15,000, use 7,000 out of the 15,000 to pay a rent, invest $8,000 every month in unit trust. Do the maths. 8,000 times 12, which is like 80 plus 16 will be $96,000. Sorry, times 12 is $96,000 in a year. And remember, you are paying $80,000 per year on your mortgage. When you go back to renting, you'll be saving $96,000 a year in unit trust. Assuming you're getting like, let's say 10% profit on this amount of money. So at the end of the year, this money will actually be over $100,000 that you have saved. And remember, you've got 15 years to go with this heavy mortgage you're paying. Let's assume there's no interest. If you save this much, 96,000 plus 10%, which is 9,600, which should now give you like $105,000 at the end of the year. Times, and the money is going to grow by compound interest. If you were to use a compound interest calculator and multiply this amount for the next 10 years, let's say times 10 years, you'll be a multi-millionaire. With the same money you are using to pay, you use to pay your rent, you'll be a multi-millionaire by just going back to renting a house. So it's a big lie that people think like, if I own my own house, truly you don't own the house. The house belongs to the bank. And you will find out the day you can no longer pay, that the house was never yours. Why put yourself in a rat race, tie down all your income, making the bank rich when you have nothing? So I think we should do the mathematics. If you save this amount of money, find it, use, we'll call it compound interest calculator. Put this amount of money, you see that in 10 years, just $8,000 alone, in 10 years, invested in unit trust at 10% interest will give you 1,660,116.16 rand. Now, the house you bought at 1.2 million, that you are paying 15,000 installment for, that was not going to finish. Imagine if you had to save this money for the next 20 years, like you're going to do with $15,000. In 20 years, this money will be close to $5 million. So you actually can buy 3 houses in 20 years with the same amount of money you are using to pay mortgage. So mortgage is never in the interest of the one who is using it. The bank are not there to help you at all. If anything, they are there to make sure you work for them to be rich. You see? So you save the money, and I already told you how to make this savings. You can save from the money you are wasting on mortgage by doing what? Debt management. You see? If you were to, maybe you sell that house, because the house worth 1.2 million rent. If you sell the house, you're going to probably get 1 million rent, which is the difference, from the initial amount you bought it. 100,000 you're going to get, use it as initial deposit in a unit trust and go back to renting and pay the remaining money into unit trust. In 10 years, 15 years, 20 years time, all your prayer for, multi-million will have been answered. So I don't think that using your house, paying all the bulk of your income on a mortgage is a smart business financial move. I don't think so. And you can do the calculation yourself and come to the conclusion. Don't just take my words. Do your own personal calculations. Because if you're already disciplined and the bank gave you the loan because they believe that you always have at least 15,000 rands every month, right? So if they believe in that, they have faith in you to always have faith in yourself as well, right? And there's no such thing like, no, what if anything happens? If anything happens, you will have a lot of cash, a lot of cash in the bank. Imagine now you are 40 years old today. And take what I'm telling you now seriously. You know what will happen? By the time you are 50 years old, you will already be a millionaire. You can actually build with this amount of money. If you buy a land, you can build your dream house, which you can never do paying mortgage. A 1.2 million rand house is not a dream house. Cannot be a dream house, except your dream is very small, right? So I already put out all the points that I was talking about. I said number 1 is set financial goal. Number 2, I said save to invest, to build wealth. Number 3 is what? Debt management. And number 4 is investment, which is what I did with this calculation. So you see, if you have this formula, you are sure to be on your way to wealth. The reason why many people are 40 years, 45 years, 50 years, and they don't have so much money is because of the wrong move they made by buying a house on credit, believing that their house is an investment. It's not an investment. If it's an investment, if at all your house is an investment, it is an investment for the bank, not for you. There's no way you can sell that house in 10 years' time and make that much money from the same house, except maybe some major economic thing happen in your area and everything go up. All right? It's never too late. That's what we're discussing. Never too late to be rich. You can start today and be sure on your way to wealth. Thank you. See you in another video.